Good day everyone. Me and my partner here is going to discuss to you about congruent triangles. Let us determine first our objectives. The first is to define and illustrate what a congruent triangle is. Next is to illustrate and to discuss the different postulates used to prove that two triangles are congruent. Okay, so let us first define congruent triangles. Okay, congruent triangles are two triangles that are congruent if their corresponding parts are congruent. And here we have the acronym CPCTC, meaning corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, is used to state the definition of congruent triangles. Okay. So, for example, I have here two triangles. Let us name it triangle A, B, C, and the second one as triangle X, Y, Z. So, based on the definition that congruent triangles can only be congruent if the corresponding parts are congruent. So, the corresponding parts are the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides. Corresponding angles is what we call, example, angle A, angle B, angle C for the second triangle, angle X, angle Y, and angle Z. The corresponding angles are, first, corresponding angle A is corresponding to, of course, angle X. Angle B is congruent to what? Angle Y. And the last one, angle C, is of course corresponding or congruent to angle Z. The next step is to determine the corresponding sides. Side AB is congruent to what line? Side XY. Side BC is congruent to what side? Of course, YZ. Side YZ. And the last one, side AC, is congruent to side XZ. Okay, so now we know the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides. So let us now give an example to determine that we really know the corresponding sides and the corresponding angles in each triangle. Let us use again triangle A, B, C, and triangle X, Y, Z. We have here the corresponding vertices. In the side, we have here the corresponding angles. And in the last side, we have here the corresponding lines. Okay, so in our first vertices, which is A and X, so where is it? What is the corresponding angle? Of course, angle A is corresponding to angle X. And The corresponding lines is line AB is congruent to, of course, line XY. The next is B and Y. What is the corresponding angle? You get it. Angle B is corresponding or congruent to angle Y. The corresponding line, line BC, is congruent to line YZ. Okay, so now at least we know the corresponding angles and corresponding lines. Okay, so now let's move on. So now, in proving congruent triangles, we do not have to prove all the corresponding parts to be congruent. Now we have the postulates to prove or to help us prove that two triangles are congruent. The first postulate is what we call the SSS congruence postulate. Here, in this postulate, all three sides of two triangles are equal. So, for example, I have here two triangles, triangle A, B, C, and triangle X, Y, Z. So, based on the definition, meaning all three sides of two triangles are equal, if we can say that the three sides of both triangles are congruent, then we can prove, or we can already say that two triangles are congruent. So here, if we can say that line AB is congruent to line XY, then at least we can show also that line BC is congruent to line YZ, and line AC is congruent to line XZ. In this term, we have shown to you that two triangles are congruent because of the SSS congruence postulate. The next postulate is the SAS congruence postulate, or what we call the side angle side postulate. So here, SAS congruence postulate is wherein two sides in the included angle of one triangle are congruent respectively to two sides in the included angle of another triangle. Then two triangles are congruent. For example, let us use again like triangle ABC and triangle XYZ. So basically, based on the definition, the side angle side, meaning we have to choose. We have to prove that side AB is congruent to side XY, the angle B is congruent to angle Y, and if we can also prove that side BC is congruent to side YZ, then we can say that based on our postulate, the side angle side congruence postulate, these two triangles here are congruent. The last postulate is what we call the angle side angle congruence postulate. Here, if two angles in the included side of one triangle are congruent respectively to two triangles, and the included side of another triangle, then two triangles are congruent. Okay, so for example, we use triangle ABC to show that two triangles are congruent using the ASA congruence postulate. In here, basically, the angle, we have to choose an angle here. And here we show angle A is our base. Angle A here is congruent to angle X. Side AB is congruent to side XY. And another angle, which is the angle B, is congruent to angle Y. By the definition of ASA, the angle side angle congruence postulate, we can see that two angles, first angle and the second angle, and another included side are equal. Therefore, we can say that these triangles are congruent. Okay? So now, I have a practice to give to show that you have learned something. Okay, so given line AB is congruent to line AD and line BC is congruent to line DC. Let us prove that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC. Okay? So, this is a triangle here. Triangle A, triangle B, C, and D. So, we already know that line AD is congruent to line AD, right? We also know that line BC is congruent to line DC. The only thing that we don't know is what are the other corresponding parts that are congruent so that we can prove that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ABC. Okay? So, let us give here our given. Number 1, line AB is congruent to line AD. Reason? First of all, given. Number 2, line DC is corresponding to line DC. Reason? Of course, given. The next, what do you think is next? Oh, I see the line here is congruent. Okay, so by reflexive property of congruence, we can say that line AC is congruent to line AC with the reason of reflexive property of congruence. The last, what do you think is the last? Of course, we can now prove that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC. By what means? We can see that all sides are congruent with both triangles. So, we can now say that using the side congruence postulate, then these two triangles here are congruent. For more inquiries or suggestions, please contact us at Blackbird 10 95 at gmail.com. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Have a nice day.